Sitting at work with my blog and my stories going nowhere, I felt like that was the end of my best-selling author dream. Never gonna make it. I had just hit a dead spot. I had hit several dead spots. I had a blog that I could barely keep going for 2 to 3 posts a day, week. I was really struggling to get over some rough points in my stories, which every author has that, and every author gets advice from every other author about how to get past that, but I was stuck. And so I was also idly browsing, learning about econ terms, economics and mathematics, and I came across this little article on an economics website that talked about the Pareto effect. You might know it as the 80-20 rule. This is the rule that has made my writing, my outlining, my blogging phenomenally fast. So the 80-20 rule is very simple. 80% of the work done by 20% of the time, energy, people that are doing it. But the illustration that I saw talked about designs. It said if you had 1 minute to draw out a design on a card, you could draw like a car. You could outline the car. Another minute working on that sketch, you could add a few more details. Another minute, basically it went through 5 minutes. At the end of 5 minutes, you had a colored, textured, shaded, really lovely piece of work. And it said, but what if that's entirely the wrong vehicle? What if that's not actually what you wanted? What if you got stuck drawing a car and you present this to the customer or to yourself and they say, this is a nice car, but I wanted a boat? Consider then when the most work was done and you could have stopped and turned around and done something else. The most work was done when you went from piece of paper to sketch on a piece of paper. That blew my mind because it meant that in the first 80% of the time that I worked on something, coming up with the idea was actually most of the work. And I could do that really quickly. Now, I experimented with that immediately, of course, while I was at work. Don't tell my bosses. And suddenly, whereas I couldn't even figure out the direction for this book to go, suddenly I had the direction for the entire 12-book series. I had added 3 new characters. I had designed a major character boat in the thing. I came back the next day. I tried it again. I had this story that I wanted to do up for my blog, but other than having an idea, I had nothing. So I went at it doing what I called the Pareto Blitz. And that's the technique I'm going to teach you today that helped me to outline a 26 chapter, basically screenplay that I put on my blog. I've used it to outline, 70 books. And I did all of that. I fully outlined 70 books in the space of 3 months. And here's how I did it. It's a very simple thing. But nobody is taught this. We're all taught, work your way through it, come up with an idea, and then work really, really, really hard to develop that idea. I said, what if you work really, really hard to develop a lot of ideas instead? So what you're going to do for this little Pareto Blitz is take a timer, a notepad. I love these little 4 for $1 notepads. You get them at Walmart. And you set a timer for 30 seconds or a minute. And you have your prompt. Let's say the prompt is like it was for my blog story, My Family Butler. That's the only thing you have to go on is a phrase, My Family Butler. So for 1 minute, you write down everything associated with the impression you get of My Family Butler for 1 minute. Now, don't write complete sentences. Sentences are a waste of time. You want to write words like short, unpredictable, maybe sniper rifle is in there, or rivalry, or something else you thought of is chess or yellow sweater. You write down all of these things for 1 minute, and then you take a short break, and then you do it again. You're basically starting the idea all over again for another minute. And you do that 3 or 4 times. Most of the outlining classes you will take in college and high school, they say, start with this idea and then outline it really well right away, right at first. But you don't often end up with what you want when you start it that way. Now, another person that I came across who did this, surprisingly, is an advertising and sales expert named Jim Edwards. You may be familiar with some of his other materials. And he says that for writing copy, for writing words that'll sell your material, he says, write a long, long, long list. Do not use what you come up with first, because what you come up with first might be good, but what you come up with later, and that's like the third or fourth round of the Pareto Blitz, what you come up with later is actually going to be deeper. It's better thought out because you've gotten past the obvious stuff and you've worked your way through the not so obvious stuff into the really rare and rich stuff that's more at the core of your being. In that first minute, you are working off other people's expectations and what you've worked on in the past. But in those later ones where you're really scraping to find anything to say, those are actually when the moments of genius show up. It works for Jim Edwards for making millions of dollars worth of selling material for how many thousands of clients. It worked for me outlining not just 70 books, but it also helped me on my challenge from Russell Brunson's book, Traffic Secrets. He said if you write one blog post a day with meaningful content for a year, you will never have to worry about going poor again. So if you're running out of material, or if you are running out of ideas, or if you are stuck, or if you feel like you need to get the right start on something, try this technique. You can use just a pad of paper and a pencil, or you can try it out on my one sheet that you'll see here spread out below. Remember, the point is work fast, work in single words, not sentences, and you will actually come up with and be measurably 800% more productive than you ever have been in your life. Give it a whirl. And visit me on my website, ChrisSchallertIdeaEngine.com, or visit my blog, Gestaltic Ocean. I'll leave links for you on the bottom.com. This is Chris Schallert, an idea engine encouraging you to take something old and make something new.